the other day started looking at short stories. And as a class, we've been working on the story about Fox. And then you guys the other day chose whether you were going to do Gloria, Who Might Be My Best Friend, or 11.
Yeah.
So today we're going to get back into those stories that you chose the other day. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be examining the characters today. Okay, just like I had up here. So we're specifically going to be reading little chunks of our stories and really trying to analyze and think about the characters. And I put up some topics underneath characters that will help us start developing notes for an awesome literary essay, okay? So you'll see I put up those topics over on that board there. That is just how I would set up my note-taking in my notebook. You can do it whichever way works for you, okay? So as a quick example, Amir, will you hit the door button, please? Oh, yes. Thanks. As a quick example, I wanted us just to take, we're not going to read the whole Fox story because that would take us forever. So we are going to kind of remind ourselves, in the beginning of the Fox story, the character that I want to examine in this story today is Dog. So do you remember the character of Dog?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to read out loud a little bit of this, and you guys can read along with me. And then we're going to look specifically at just a couple things in here, okay? And that's going to be a model for what I want you to go then do with your buddies, okay? So we have through the charred forest over hot ash runs Dog with a bird clamped in his big, gentle mouth. He takes her to his cave above the river, and there he tries to tend to her burned wing. But Magpie does not want his help. I will never again be able to fly, she whispers. I know, says Dog. He is silent for a moment, and then he says, I am blind in one eye, but life is still good. An eye is nothing, says Magpie. How would you feel if you couldn't run? Dog does not answer. Magpie drags her body into the shadow of the rocks until she feels herself melting into blackness. Days, perhaps a week later, she wakes with a rush of grief. Dog is waiting. He persuades her to go with him to the riverbank. Hop on my back, he says. Look into the water and tell me what you see. Sighing, Magpie does as he asks. Reflected in the water are clouds and sky and trees and something else. I see a strange new creature, she says. That is us, says Dog. Now hold on tight. With Magpie clinging to his back, he races through the scrubs, past the stringy barks, past the clumps of yellow box trees and into blueness. He runs so swiftly, it is almost as if he were flying. Okay, so we're going to stop there for the chunk of work we're going to do today. Notice I'm not trying to tackle my whole story in one day, okay? So I want us to think for a second about the character of Dog. And I want us to think about the simplest place I think maybe to start is character traits. So what kind of a character is Dog? What is he like? Jillian, what do you think?
Well, I feel like he's just like loyal to Magpie.
That's a great word. Loyal. Am I writing incomplete sentences right now?
Yeah.
Taking notes. What else besides loyal kind of stood out to you about Dog? Amir, what did you think?
I think he's caring.
Good one. Okay. Loyal and caring. Alexandra, what else?
Hopeful.
Helpful. Anything else? Ella, last one for this? Kind. Okay, so I can go back and jot more later because I'm only a third of the way through my story. Okay? When we talk about motivations for a character, do you know what that means? When I'm wanting you to examine the motivations of the characters in your stories, Jillian, what am I wanting you to think about?
You're wanting to think about why they act this way, like why do they want to act this way to the other characters?
Yeah, things that motivate you are things that make you want to do what you do. You behave a certain way because you're motivated to, correct?
Yeah.
So thinking about motivations of a character is kind of tricky. Does Dog have any motivations so far that stand out in this story? Shreyas, what do you think?
In my opinion, kind of making Magpie more positive because he's trying to say it's okay because this is like flying.
Okay. So can I just put positivity really quick? Positive, if I could spell it. Positivity maybe motivates him. He wants Magpie to keep positive and not get too depressed.
Yeah.
Adia, I haven't heard from you yet.
Well, like,
Did I make you forget?
yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. So, do you have a motivation, Amir?
Yeah, I think he's just, like, trying to help Magpie.
Okay, so he just wants to help. He's just a kind person that wants, or character that wants to help, not a person. Did you remember?
Yeah.
Quick.
So he's helpful because he's kind of gone through something that she's gone through, so he understands.
Okay. So maybe experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we get down into struggles, changes, life lessons. Sometimes a struggle will lead to a change, which leads to a character learning a life lesson, correct?
Yeah.
Have we gone far enough in this story that we know of any struggles that Dog has?
No.
Think about it.
His eye.
Dalen, what is it?
His eyes.
One of his eyes is not.
Okay, so I can put missing eye, because that is what leads to this, where he's had the same experience, he thinks, right? Okay. Have we seen any changes yet?
No.
Or life lessons yet?
No, we sort of saw like a change, like, with Magpie, because, well, we didn't get that far yet.
I know, it's tricky when you're just doing a certain little chunk at a time. So that's something to keep in mind, you guys. When we're doing our analysis today, you may not get through all of these, okay? But we're gonna come back several days and work on characters, because the character is a huge, important part of a short story, okay? So, I am going to put up, this is gonna go on our How to Write a Literary Essay anchor chart, and it just has us studying characters. This is one of the ways we write a literary essay. We study the characters, okay? So let me tell you what you guys are gonna do to study the characters in your short stories today. We are going to, you see my arrows? So don't move until I say go, but here's what we're gonna do when I say go. You're gonna go to your bin, you're gonna get out your story, and you're gonna get out your literacy notebook, okay? If your story is 11, when you come back to the rug, I want you to kind of be over here. And you don't even need to sit down necessarily, okay? If your story is Gloria, who might be my best friend, then I want you to kind of be on that side. The reason I want you in those areas is because I want you to see who else in this room is reading the same story you are. Because you can support each other in examining and analyzing these characters, okay? I want everybody doing their own note-taking and their own writing, so Chris doesn't get to sit back and put his feet up while Shreyas does all the note-taking for him. Not that you would, Chris, I'm just using it as an example. So I want everybody doing their own, because everybody's going to have to write their own essays. But sometimes it helps to have somebody to talk through it with, okay? So you may, when we get started, you may want to reread a chunk of your essay and then see if you can pull out any notes about your main character. You're going to choose one main character, okay? Both these stories have pretty clear main characters, correct? Okay? Does everybody understand what we're going to do?
Yeah.
Once you get your story, your notebook, and you see who else is in the same story as you, you may choose to work next to somebody so you can share ideas, or if you're like, I want to go work by myself right now, that's fine too, okay? But it just gives you an idea of who's there to support you if you need it.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Go. My eyes, all of you guys are reading Gloria, who might be my best friend. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And all you guys are my 11s. Are you an 11?
Yeah.
Okay, and Ronnie's an 11, I know. Okay, so take a look. See who's there to support you if you need it or want it. You do not have to stay on the floor to do this work. Notice how Drake and Chris already found a spot to work. We're going to spread out, find a spot. Make sure you're taking notes on those subtopics about your character. Hit the road, Toads. Let's go.
You don't. You open your eyes and everything's just like yesterday, only it's today. Just see
Science, I think. I think it's perfect.
you feel like you're still 10. You are underneath here that makes you 11.
Like some days you might say something.
I was Skylar.
You don't feel 11. Not right in here. It takes a few days, weeks, sometimes there's months before you feel 11 when they ask. You don't feel smart 11. Not until you're almost 12. That's the way it is.
Okay. So you're doing Julian,
Yeah,
right? You guys are both doing the same.
I'm
Nice.
doing cones. Red sweater on my desk. Definitely not. So Barbara isn't
Victoria or Julian? Because I can't really figure out who to do.
She looked the same age as me. Said curly hair, was braided. With red ribbons.
That's a big motivator, isn't it? Wanting to make a friend motivates us to do lots of things in life, doesn't it? Good job, girls. Did you just decide to use one chunk of your story today? Or are you kind of remembering the whole thing? That's fine. One of the things that we're eventually going to have to do is you guys can write all over this is you're going to want to be able to say, I know she wants a friend because. So it's going to be about finding the evidence when you get to the essay writing point. So you can jot notes and you can underline things in your stories too, okay?
Little grips to big grip.